So hi, welcome to part 2 of my True Terrain 4.2 creating a landscape with the new Heightmap function follow along video. In part 1 we have created this scene. Maybe you want to check it out, it is in my playlist, or you have already seen it. So we're going to do a couple of things now in part 2. The first one is we're going to add water, and we will make some fine adjustments on the terrain itself and do background mountains. And what we're going to do is start with the background. So we do another Heightmap based landscape, so just click on that again. Let's head over to our Heightmaps, and there is something that is called mountains. That sounds promising. Let's take this one, and it's already in here. So S100, we've got this in, so bring this back, and we have a very nice background, or we have a very nice mountain range in our back. Now, the way the camera is positioned, we need to figure out how to do this properly. So let's scale this up real large, bring it back down, and okay, so I've got some mountain here, and no, like so. Scale it like that. Yeah, this is pretty big, but it's what I want in my scene right now. So maybe we can find a nice position of our background. This looks great. This looks really nice. So let's take a look through the rendered window. Yes. The only thing is we probably need to bring this down a little bit, like so, and scale it up, scale it on the Y, and move it on the Y, something like this. This looks great, yes. Okay, let's have a look. Right, we've got a scale of 400 and 600 and 500, which is of course totally mad, but we're going to apply our scale. We know already that from part 1 that applying our scale will delete the displacement, which is easily fixed by just putting in, I think let's put just an average of 550 in here, and that should do the trick, and it does. Great. Now we could do the same thing with texturing our background, and we could do that easily by just clicking on add material and maybe go to my own pack, the Berg pack, and find something rough and rugged like this one. We need to go with 3 in the material displacement, and as you know, we have not set up a subdivision modifier, which I think would be overkill for our background. So we're sticking with that. Go to our shader, texture mapping, and go like 300. Yes, and here we go with 0.3, and that is okay. However, it is a little bit too dark. Let's go with something more light and still keep the desert vibe going, and I think that one looks pretty good. Let's take a look how this would look like if it would be shown upon. Yeah, no, that's good, that's okay. Okay, let's go back to 161 as it was before. And what we're going to do now is, before we do the water and the other stuff, is set up our mist pass, because we probably need that with that kind of dimension. So click on our camera, and in the viewport display we are going to activate mist, so we can actually see where the mist gradient starts and where it should end, or has its densest moment now, or area. Now over here in our world properties we have the mist pass, which is a standard of 5 and 25. So make sure your camera is not locked to view. Here is my camera, and this is massive, of course. Now what are we going to do? This is all trial and error, but I think we should start the mist in our first terrain, something like here, and it should end at the beginning of this big mountain over there, like so. Right, so let's do 350 and 131. So here it where our mist starts, and from here onwards it is densest. So again, let's take a look. Oh, I already hit F12, which is fine. Let's have a look on how this will turn out. And here is our result, and I think it's quite nice, and I think we have we did good with the mist pass. We can fiddle around with it in post-processing, but as for now I think excuse me, the settings are okay. Now let's go back, let's go to slot 4, and I think we don't need to do anything specific with the background, so let's hide this. And before we add the water, I want to show you something that most of us, and me included, have not used a lot in the previous version, although I think it was available. So what we're going to do is, in our cliffs, because that's where it matters at the moment, there is this color variance option, and there are a couple of very neat things, and we need to look at which is the option to add dark patches to one of our terrains, or light patches. It's very subtle, but it is there. Take a look. It makes it even more realistic. And the great thing over here is called AO based weathering and AO based dirt. Now take a look. If I'm activating AO based weathering, this gets very weathered, but a little bit too much. So we're going to bring this down to 0.2 to just have a hint and some blotches of weathering. And the same applies to dirt, which makes part of our mesh dark, and we're going to bring this down to 0.3, which gives us an even cooler look to our cliffs in here. At least I think so. Okay, that's what we have done here. Now we're going to make this easy for ourselves. So what we're going to do now is add some water. We're going to take the lake shader. Why? Because I don't want some lagoon water, crystal clear water in the desert. I want murky water in here. And if I've got the water here, so let's do this by 300 should suffice. Rotate this. Is it necessary? No, but I like one of the edges of the water to be parallel to my horizon line. Apply the scale, solidify it to 25, 30 meters, whatever you want, and then go to rendered view and bring this up to where we want it, maybe like so. So we have part of this rock still sticking out, and then we're going to go into our shader controls, and I want dirty water, and the surface dirt is a little bit too much for me, so I'm going to with 0.2, and the dirt amount I'm going to decrease to 0.5. Let's see, yeah, we don't need to mess with those. This looks murky enough for me, and it's pretty still now. Let's bring in, because we have scaled this up quite a bit, let's increase the ripple intensity to 1 and the micro detail intensity to 0.8. So we have this going on, and this looks good enough for me. We can hide the water again, and what we're going to do now is do another test render. So bring this in here and do render number 4. And there we have it, 2 minutes 24 seconds later. We have this rendering result. I think the water turned out great. The weathering and the dirt on our cliffs looks brilliant. The terrain details are great. I really like it. And we could stop right here, maybe increase the mist a little bit. It's still a little bit empty, so some clouds would be great. You could either use an HDRI for doing that, or this is what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to add a True VDB cloud. So let's go over to our True VDB, go to clouds and pick this one, and add the volume in here. Should be here in a second. It loads up the VDB. That's great. I'm going to rotate it, bring it up in here, something like this. But as you can see, if we're going to top view, in top view we can see this is not where we want our terrain to be. So okay, let's find out where our over here. So we should probably bring this up a little bit, and over here, let's see how that works. Maybe enlarge it even a little bit more, bring it to the back, bring it to the side over here, something like this, and have a look in rendered view if this looks good. It does, however, it is a little bit, it has a copy paste feeling to it, but this is just mainly because of the way we have set this up. So make this like that, increase this as well, maybe to like so. Bring this over here. Bring this to the back, like so. I mean, this would be too much probably. Like so. Rotating that. So, and then we're going to Alt-D this and bring this over here, as well. Bring this up. Maybe not like so. And again, do a test render and see how this looks like. So this is what our clouds in the scene makes as an effect, and it looks pretty good, but I took the liberty. I think I need to spend much more time fine-tuning the alignment, arrangement, density of the clouds, and I really don't want to spend this much time for this video right now. So what I also did is I switched to an HDRI. So I deleted my Nishita sky, deleted the clouds, and went with HDRI light and background, and this would look like this, and I think this works as well, and this is also what I'm going to stay with. These very faint mountains here, this one and those, are part of the HDRI, not extra geometry I put in during render time or when I was off. So this is what it looks like. I think the terrain looks absolutely brilliant, and I think we should leave it like that. However, I want to show you another cool feature in True Terrain 4.2, and I'm not going to do a part 3, so if you want to stick around, we're just going to scatter some assets in here. And which assets are I'm extremely happy about True-Vfx partnering up with the maker of Niscara and Blender vegetation add-on. So what we're going to do is close True VDB, go to assets, and look, we have now all these options. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories just for different trees. We've got desert in here, so we've got different succulents. Let's see, I think succulents are, yeah, we've got these as well, and oh god, this is just brilliant. And this is what I'm going to use to give this scene just a little bit more life. So let's go with these things. I have no idea if they are indigenous to that kind of environment, but you know what? I really don't care. I'm just happy that it's available. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. So the first thing is, let's go with this one. So we could, because I want this to be here, let's bring the water back in. So we don't scatter into the water, but this is, we don't need this right now. So just add them, right? So and you can see where they are. So what we obviously need to do is work with modifiers. So let's head over to the modifier, and the first one I'm always using is the camera cull. New in 4.2 is we have masks, rotation, and optimization categories. So camera culling is the first one. I only have one camera, so I'm going to pick this one. So we have nothing outside of our camera view. I do some slight padding, so like 0.1, 0.3, so we don't have a hard cut with the camera view. The next thing is I don't want these things to be scattered on the cliff wall, so we're going to add a slope mask, and a slope of 0 means absolute flatness. I'm going to increase this bit by bit, so I'm having this part scattered as well, and I'm super excited about. The height mask is back because it didn't work in 4.1.3 and Blender 3.0. So let's do a height mask and increase the height to whatever we think is necessary. Do we want something in here as well? Yes, not so much up there. So 74, 75 meters should work. And I don't want it to be in the water. So I'm going to increase my minimum height slowly as well. Bring back the water. Exactly. So no assets are scattered in our water. We have this in here. Let's go back to our scatter. So a couple of things. First of all, we do have some slight displacement of the material and the textures. So an offset of 0.3 is definitely not amiss. What does it do? It increases the 0 point of the scattering, like 30 centimeters or whatever above the actual ground, but that should actually fit in the line to the displacement of the material. We are going to decrease the distance because we don't need distance between the different assets. I think the scale is fine. However, we could use a little bit more of those, and be very careful because just putting a 1 in there could just make your system freeze. So I'm giving this a 1. Right, scatter this around. Oops. Distribution seed, like so. This looks fine. And then one of my next favorite things is, let's do another asset. Now you would have to, just pick one and do the whole system all over again. But we have the offset set, scale is fine, rotation is fine, clumping is something new which we could use, but not on that kind of scale. So this makes your assets move towards a single point or away from it. So I'm not going to use that right now. Maybe do that in a grass tutorial or something like that. Now, but what I want to show you is I have this already properly set up. Now I'm going to click here and duplicate these assets, and you can see nothing because it's exactly on the same spot, exactly the same thing. So if I would just change the distribution seed, you would see that more of the same thing would show up because they're on a different location. But now with this selected, I can go to asset settings, and in here I'm going to change this to a different asset. And it's going to be renamed, but all the settings we have done for the first one has been taken over, and I've got my second asset in here. But I can see these are just very, very small points because, real world dimensions. So let's be a little bit unrealistic and increase the scale for that one to, like, say, minimum scale 1, and this to 3. Well, we can't see a lot. Let's do 3. This to 6, and the randomization to 0.5, and the density has been taken over as well. So let's do a 4 here and have more of this in here. So we've got this. Now let's go again over here. We can hide the first one. We are going to copy this again, duplicate, change the distribution seed, and go to asset setting and find something else in the succulents and take, I don't know, this one. And as you can see, it has been taken over. I don't want so many of them, so let's go back to one with those. So let's let them be special. And this is this. Maybe let's increase the scale further here to 5, like so. And last but not least, we're going to put one other stuff in here. So duplicate, we've got all the settings, especially the offset, which is important and should be applied to all assets. Go to asset settings, and now we are switching even the category, and I go to miscellaneous and take this dead tree. Oh, let's do burnt tree. Let's do this burnt tree. And yes, they are a little bit too large, so this is not an issue. Let's go to 0.2 and 1, and we've got these trees scattered around our terrain. However, I think there's still too much of them, so bring this back to 0 and bring this to 5. And I'm not sure if this isn't too much still, but you know what, let's go with this. Let's go with this and go to slot 6 and do a render and see how it worked out. So this is our scene with some assets scattered, and I just increased some of the density, excuse me, and lowered some of the burnt wood's height and scale, and did a final render which came out like this. And personally, I think it looks pretty good. I hope you like it. There is probably something we could still work with or do in post-processing, but I just wanted to show you some of the assets, how the modifiers work, and especially how awesome those height maps are when a subdivision modifier is applied. So have fun with True Terrain 4.2 height maps and the new assets if you choose to pick them up. I think they're great value, and it makes True Terrain to a completely different thing. So I'm very happy to have done that. Totally up to you. Maybe you want to check out my materials pack as well. Something new is coming. I will let you know very soon. So until then, all the best and see you the next time. Bye.